It's pattern launch day. I'm so excited. Hi, this is the Capital K Knitting Podcast, and my name is Bethany. Before I get carried away today, I want to share two needs. Before I get all into the knitting. One is Fiber Friend has voiced that she is doing a Destash sale so that she can earn some money for a trip for her husband. They have already done enough sales from her stash to be able to buy his plane ticket, but I believe the Destash sale is still going on. Her name is in the corner here because I cannot remember her handle on Instagram. I'm going to go ahead and link her profile down below as well because she has some story highlights about the Destash sale, and she's still, trying to get more funds for the trip because, of course, the only expense for a trip to Zambia is where her husband is going to be traveling for his father's funeral is expensive, whether you have the plane ticket paid for or not. So be sure to check out her Destash sale. She's so sweet, and she is a yarn dyer, so not only does she have stuff from her stash, she was also including her new update yarn in the story highlight as well. It's the highlight named Tim under that. The second thing that I wanted to share with you is there is a need for outerwear in the Oglala Lakota tribe, and there is a ranch in California that visits their reservation consistently. I will link their Instagram profile in the description below also. I know that a lot of knitters just have gifts on the standby because they're not sure when someone will need something, and this is your opportunity. There's just a need for some outerwear garments, and it's, of course, knitwear is the best choice for those. So I wanted to make sure to get those two things out first, just in case you skip out early for this episode. I know some of you won't. You'll stick around till the very end, but just in case you need to watch it in pieces or something like that, I wanted to make sure you knew that first. Okay. Let's move into finished objects immediately because I'm so excited about them. They are fabulous. I have my little notebook to make sure I'm organized. Sonia, I'm being organized. Here we go. Here is the Tread Heavy sock. It is gorgeous, and there are so many more of them now. If you look on the Instagram hashtag Tread Heavy sock, you will see a bunch of test knits there, and they are beautiful, and it's just so scrumptious. It is now live on Ravelry and Etsy. Those links are also in the description box below. The look at that yarn. Look at that yarn. So nice. This is Knitting Niqabi yarn. I have a hair on my neck that is going to bother me until I find it. There it is. Okay. This is Knitting Niqabi yarn. Kelsey is the dyer for Knitting Niqabi, and she just does such a beautiful job. This is a colorway called OOAK, and it was dyed with coffee and one other thing. I forget the other thing, but it is in my notes. So I'll make sure to put that down there. This is the finished object, and I've been wearing them. You can kind of tell because it's getting a little bit fuzzy down there. She dyes non-superwash yarn, non-superwash, no nylon yarn. And that is what I'm wanting to get more into. I am baby stepping my way into that demographic. Is that the word I'm looking for? And I have enjoyed them so much. I've enjoyed them so much. I've been wearing them constantly. And this is how much I had left. I actually wrote down, I think, 62 grams left. So on mine, I made little shorties. Of course, you can make the leg as long as you want, but I have 10 rows here between the cuff and the start of the heel. What I love about this pattern, not only that I, wrote it out, but that it is a sole recipe, right? So you can incorporate this into any sock pattern. You can do whatever you want on the top. You can do whatever you want on the leg. Doesn't matter. Of course, you can do this kind of vanilla version. That's always an option. But you can incorporate it into any sock pattern. It's very versatile. I am going to be working on an afterthought heel addition to the pattern. I often do afterthought heels for my children's socks, and I think it will be great to do that. My son and I have the same width of feet. He is 6 years old. We have the same width of feet. So I can do on a sock tube that I might have, I could do one for me and one for him. And so I want to be able to know that pattern and be able to add it to the collection of tread heavy things, because obviously this can just continue to be what it is. I am toying in my mind with doing a DK version and also a toe up version. So I think the afterthought heel version should be the toe up version. I'm thinking that would be a good idea. So let me know if you're a toe up person, what is your favorite heel for toe up socks? Because I am not practiced with toe up socks, and so I feel like I would need to practice a few to get it right. But the afterthought heel I am familiar with and have done a few times, since I do it just like the toe, so I've done it lots of times. So let me know what your favorite heel is for a toe up sock, because I would love to know all the options. I was telling my friend Sonia at Knit Night tonight that I don't think a person could tell me too many details about their knitting project. Like, there's just not a way to tell me too many, because I'm a big nerd. I'm a big nerd about it. Okay, that is FO1. And for some of you, you're like, those were both done last time. But they weren't, because I had to frog my first draft sock and make it like the final draft sock. So now they're both final draft socks. I've been wearing them. They're lovely. I now have 2 pairs of socks. Holy moly, 2 pairs of socks. So great. So great. And I've just been loving them. So on to the next FO. The next thing that I finished while I was, I've got my little photo here. This is Musselburgh number 3. Maybe I should do this so you can see it. I did it with 4mm needles, and I held a DK and an alpaca together for the red side. Here they are. This is the Scout yarn. This is the one I picked up in Cincinnati at Hank, the yarn boutique there. This is 100% wool, and it's in the colorway Mulberry Heather. Isn't that so pretty? Oh, I still love it. I can't wait to see what I make with the rest of it. And this is the rest of the Cumulus alpaca in the colorway Ruby Red. So those looked scrumptious together. Those were really great. I don't have any more of the yellow, and that was kind of the point of the stripes, so that I would be able to use all of it. I had just a little bit left of that color from my shawlography, and I wanted to use it up. So I used up every last bit of that yellow, even though the end of the yellow didn't match with like the beginning of that row. I didn't care. I just did it all. And you can see in the hat that I learned how to do jogless stripes. I did jogless stripes for half of the transitions and not for half of the others because I just kept going and forgot. So my friend is very nice and yeah, and loved it. So I did the outside with a mystery black yarn. I do not remember what it is. I did not have any if you hear any hammering, my husband is working in the garage on an order right now. I did not have any type of ball band system at the time at all. And so I just took it off thinking I would remember it. Because honestly, at the time, my stash was super small, and that is fine. I held it together with the Cumulus alpaca in the colorway Onyx, which is black, gray, black. I think the alpaca is black, but I think the silk in it is not, and that's what gives it that color. So I held those together on the outside, and I knit a few extra rows of the black because I wanted the length of the black side to be definitely like that you just saw all black when it was folded in half, if that was on the outside, because I knit my green one exactly half and half with the alpaca on the inside exactly to half, and then did the rest without, not thinking that of course when you fold it in half, the half that's on the inside is going to take up less space than the half on the outside is going to be covering more space. So you're going to actually have a little bit, even if it's exactly half and half, you're going to have a little bit come out because you're dealing with fabric that's like this. So my alpaca has like just this little bit that comes out on the brim. It's totally fine with me on that hat. I love it. It works. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. But it was good for me to know that because I made some adjustments for this one because I wanted her to be able to wear the side with the all black if she wanted to, because she wears black a lot. That's just what she does, and it's very cute. Those are the two finished objects for this time, and I'm gonna, before I go into whips, I want to talk a little bit about some frogged stuff. So the first thing I frogged was my first draft of my Tread Heavy sock. This is how much I over knit my sock. It looks like actually a lot, but this is about an inch of knitting my sock too long. So I have this, and then this is my ball that's left over, and then I re-knit that. So that yarn is obviously in a project, doing great. Can't wait to see what I make out of that. That's just so scrumptious and lovely. And speaking of the yarn, I saved these to show you. So this is one end from one of my socks that I cut off, but I cut this one off before I wore it. And this one is a felted end that was inside the sock that I did not cut off until I blocked it the next time. Isn't that funny? I love it. I am fascinated by things like that. Yeah, I can put those in the little yarn jar now. But I looked at the inside of the sock and thought, that's hilarious. I didn't even think about that, of course. So, the next thing that I frogged was, if y'all followed me during Vlogmas, which of course was cut short due to tragedy, I was making these baby tube socks for my little son, and learned shortly after, I don't know, I was probably halfway through one of them, maybe a third of the way through one of them, and realized his foot will never fit in these because his foot is as big as his 4-year-old sister's, and he's turning 2 next week. So yeah, so I could probably modify this for a larger circumference, but honestly, if I'm gonna do that, I might as well do a sock with like a little magic heel business on it, because the whole reason I liked these is because the way that the twisted, the slanted twist, and it is a twisted rib also, the way that it works, wherever their heel is, it looks like that's where the heel of the sock is. It looks really great. I saw Ellie from Craft House Magic. She had made a few of these, and I think a friend of hers made them for her too, because she just recently had a baby. Oh, so sweet. And I thought, well, this isn't gonna work though, because if his foot is that big, then this isn't right. So I frogged them, and like 3 days after I frogged them, I remembered that my sister-in-law is having a baby in March. Guys, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal, because I don't mind working with DPNs. The circumference is small enough that you pretty much have to do DPNs. I bet you could do magic loop. Maybe. I've done magic loop once and it wasn't for a sock, so I don't really know. But I know that for me, I have to do DPNs with it. So I don't mind using DPNs, but DPNs are like a flashing light to my son to like pull them out and pull things around, like just destroy whatever's happening with that.
Listen, look at me. I want to be chill, but God has other plans for me, okay? Peace.
So I have to, anything that's on DPNs, I usually have to keep in the guest room until he goes to sleep, or work on it while I'm in the guest room or something, because it really, it's like it calls to him. It's awful. So I probably shouldn't have frogged it. I probably should have finished them and given them to my sister-in-law for her baby. But I think I actually might choose a different yarn to do that in. My kids really like this yarn, which is nice. But it has also faded quite a bit since washing it. And I am really rough on my kids' socks. I just throw them in the washer. And I know that you're not supposed to do that because of the detergent eating away the natural fiber in there. I need to get the sensitive drops detergent. I get drops detergent, and I need to get the sensitive kind, because that doesn't have the enzyme that eats the enzyme that's in detergent that eats away the natural fibers is actually designed to eat away food stains, which is great, except that it also eats away natural fibers. So the sensitive detergent with drops doesn't have that, and I need to get that. So this has faded quite a bit because I just throw their socks in the washer. Their superwash socks in the washer. I don't know if I will ever knit them non-superwash socks. That's the thing. I don't know. Last frog thing is Little Ronan's flax. I just didn't like the setup of the raglan increases. I know that a lot of people like the flax, but with a baby that's moving around all the time, I just felt like it would, every time he went like this, it would like bunch up on his shoulders, you know? So I was contemplating frogging it back to the raglan like the last raglan increase, and then just continuing increasing back. But I didn't. I frogged it back to the collar because I just thought, you know, if this pattern isn't for me, that's okay. Maybe I can try it later. That's fine. But I don't necessarily want to try to modify something right now. I just want to buy a pattern that I know is going to work, and, you know, I'm going to do it. So I saw on the My Cup of Yarn podcast, her favorite kid sweater is called Harold's Jumper by Petite Knit, and it's super cute. There's this great ribbing texture on the top, but she also knit a version that doesn't have that, and that's stockinette. So I am planning on doing that to continue with this, and I will probably have to frog the whole thing and start over, because not only is the stitch count very different for Harold's Jumper, there's more that should be on the collar than I have here, and I don't even know if it would use the same needle size or anything, so I'm gonna check that out and continue with that. And I've been thinking about trying that tubular cast on again, because I really liked that. Even though this is super stretchy, the tubular cast on's pretty stretchy too, so if there are more stitches, yeah, I'm gonna think through that some more before I entirely frog it. But that's the plan for now, is to turn it into a Harold's Jumper and, yeah, have that going. So that is the last frogged item. On to works in progress. I'm gonna start with the January goals, or no, winter goals, because I've already completed my January goals, guys. Already completed. The January goals were to cast on 2 sweaters, to finish my sock pattern, and to publish it by the end of the month. So that's already all happened, and check. Woohoo! So winter goals, though, are to finish the 2 sweaters and to finish these socks here, the second socks for these. I normally knit my socks 2 at a time, and this is why. All right. First up is the, okay, got it. The Andrea Mowry DRK Everyday Sweater. I am loving this, you guys. Loving it. It is so nice. I'm going to put it like this because that's how it's supposed to go. I did the back of the neck shaping back there, and it's going to just sit so nicely, and it's so soft. So soft. This is Huasco kettle dyed in Ochre. This is Cumulus alpaca in Rust. I am using the suggested needle size for the pattern, and I have 2.5 inches left to go before I separate for sleeves. I realize it's kind of bunched up on here, but I did put barber cords in it and try the yoke on to make sure that that's how much farther I needed to go. All the increases are done, so it's just getting to that point. I realized the last time I talked to y'all about it, I forgot to tell you, in the hullabaloo of me trying to get this tubular cast on here, which I'm very pleased with and glad that I decided to do it. Not only because it came out well, but I'm glad I decided to tackle a new technique. And I'm trying to make sure I'm not stabbing more of my stitches here. So the tutorial that I watched, I didn't, as a good knitter would, sarcasm, I didn't look ahead in the pattern. I looked up her tutorial for the tubular cast on and didn't realize that I was doing the 1x1 rib. And she has a tutorial for the 2x2 rib, But after I did the cast on and the setup rows and joined it in the round, I realized it was a 1x1, and then I thought, I'm not gonna take that out. I'm just gonna go with a 1x1, and that's fine. So that's what I did. And I think it's going to be just great. The only thing I need to remember is to do that on the cuffs and the hem as well. And there's a little bit of a situation here with my increases, which might block out, but I bet you can see it on here where my increases are a little bit puckery. And I think my make ones are still weird. I realized that I wasn't doing make ones. Of course, you can make one however you want. You can, but I was wanting my make ones to be invisible. And so I didn't realize that when I was pulling the ladder from the back, that's when you're making the hole, and you have to pull one of the V's from the front up onto your needle if that's how you want. So one of them is going to be make one right, make one left. And I am constantly doing, I think, whatever it would be on this side, make one rights, just doing make one rights. And that's fine. Maybe that's why, yeah, it just looks a little bit puckery where those increases are. And I'm thinking that will block out well. I'm glad there's not holes in it, but also I often revert to a knit through the front and the back loop for an increase. But also that one comes out with a, actually there's one in here. It's actually in the pattern. And it comes out, this is the back, the very back, like center back. So it's not a big deal. But you can see that there's like a little purl bump. And that's unavoidable in a knit through the front and the back loop because you're bringing that back loop forward. So I like doing that sometimes, but I didn't want to do it for this sweater. And if these black out, then I think I will be sold on that being an invisible increase, but I'm not quite sold yet. Still very pleased with the yarn. Excited to keep going with this. I think I just need a movie night with the husband to be able to get to the sleeve split, because this is the widest part of the sweater, right? So this is the biggest the rounds are going to be at this point, and it does take a while. We've increased to hundreds of stitches because this is a sport weight sweater, because I'm holding fingering and this alpaca together. So it's a lot of stitches to get through one round, but once I get through that 2.5 inches, we'll be down to smaller circumferences for the body and the sleeves, obviously. So just needs a heavy evening or two dedicated to it, and we will be there. Very happy about that one. I have these red overalls that I'm planning to wear with it on the first day that it's ready to be worn. It's going to be very nice. Second sweater. I can't even. It's so great. It's so great, guys. Look at this. Look at it. Oh my goodness. I am so happy with it. Look at that color work. Look at it. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So it's gonna be on this side of my body, right? Like this. And then after I finish going this way, I'm gonna pick up the sleeves here and do the sleeve. I've been contemplating doing the sleeves last, like doing this side, then doing this side, then picking up a sleeve, then picking up a sleeve. I just think it would be easier to do the color work patterns that way, because I just think it would be easier to keep it in my brain sooner rather than later. So this is a cardigan it's called By the Campfire by Unwind Knitwear. I am using the recommended needle size. I have a while to go, actually, before this side is done. I know it looks big here, but the sleeve, it's a wider situation there. I'm knitting the medium large. I forgot to say, with Andrea Mowry's, I'm knitting the size 4. I believe I'm knitting the size 4. Because that'll give me about 6 inches of positive ease. This one I didn't calculate as well because I just have, it's not as, the way that it's done, I didn't really understand how to pick a size. So I just thought, well, that looks about right. And chose that. So we'll see if it's right. I'm really proud of this color work, guys. It's just the taddest bit pulley there, like tight, but it's stretchy. The color work is stretchy, so I think that bodes well for me. So I think it'll block out really, really well. This is Lettlopi in the Galaxy colorway. This is Lettlopi in the light ash colorway, and this is Holst Garn in the colorway Tundra, and it is their fingering weight held double. In the first few rows here, I held it triple because it really is thin, y'all. Look, this is the Lettlopi, right? And this is the Holst Garn held double, not the same still. So that's why I was holding it triple at first. But I've also seen a couple now projects where it just blooms really significantly. And so I went down to 2. And I think that was the right choice because even knit up, it's not like, you know, you can't tell the difference between the thicknesses. Look at these floats, guys. Look at them. Look at them. Oh my goodness. So great. So I know a lot of people with their floats, they don't like to go more than 3-ish stitches before they catch it. So don't want to be catching a bunch of floats. They find that annoying. I don't know what I think about it. I think if you're going like through a whole row and having to catch the floats because you're not even using that color, that's a little strange. So I did break my yarn more than is told to in the pattern, because right here on this white it said to carry that green up, and I thought, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna do that. And on one part it said to just carry the yarn with you around, and I thought, I'm not doing that either. So I broke it a few times, which means I'm gonna have more ends to weave in, but I'm okay with that. I don't really care. Most of the time I weave my ends in as I go, and that's not to say that I weave them in like right after I cut them. I weave them in, I knit them in, and I love that method. I haven't done that with this because this is my first steeking project, and yeah, so these are my steek stitches that run here, so you can see it gets steeked on the bottom to make this like diagonal thing, and it looks really great. I'm excited, anxious. Yeah, I know at this point I've done everything that I'm supposed to do with a steeking project, that I've chosen great non-superwash yarns for it. I'm probably gonna go to my yarn store to do it, not because I want them to do it for me, but I told them I was going to be doing a steeking project, and Beverly asked if I could bring it in so that we could all kind of gasp together, and I thought that it would actually be really great to have some moral support during that. So I feel like I could confidently crochet along the steek stitches, not because I'm a great crocheter, but because that skill is not advanced to do that. But I also could sew it down. I saw a cardigan where the ribbon was on the button band, right? The steeked button band. And I thought that was really nice, but I don't know how that would work. Like if I would like that on the bottom of a cardigan, because I feel like that would be more visible on the regular than on the inside of your button band. So I'm still thinking that through, and I have plenty of time to think through it, so that's fine. I'm very happy about it. Very happy with how this is turning out. And if it's a tad oversized, I'm not. If it's very oversized, honestly, I'm not going to be mad about it. And I think that's another reason I would want to do both sides first, is to be able to see how long I actually want those sleeves to be, because I don't think I will know until I've attached the middle together. Yeah, I don't think I can get an accurate fit for that at that point. So I don't mind sleeves being a little bit longer, but I just don't want to be swimming, or I feel like oversized sweaters make sense when the sleeves are the right length. When they're not, it just looks too big, in my opinion. So I'm not wanting them to be too long. All right, friends. I was making headway on this second sock here. And I was moving along. Look at how much farther I am than last time. I think I was like here last time. Look at that. So great. I might actually get this done by the end of the month, she says, hopefully. This is the Pumpkin Spice Sock by Katie Anders. I am doing mine on a 2.5 millimeter needle, but the rest of it is to pattern. This is the 64 stitch count, and it is in Care Paravel by Amber Waves Fiber. I actually have that. I can show it to you. It's called Amber Waves Fiber in Care Paravel in this simple sock there, which I believe, yes, is a 75/25. It came with, it had 100 grams of the main color here, which is just, the flecks in this are so wonderful. So wonderful, because they're long. Like there's almost like strips and flecks going on. I love it. I love the way it's knitting up, especially in this slanted rib. It's giving me some Hermione Everyday vibes. And finished the heel, and no one else but us will notice this, so I'll show you. But can you tell where I messed up I like lost track of my slip stitches here? I accidentally purled two together on the wrong side and didn't notice for a hot second that I was messed up. So I fixed it, and then I think I lost it again after that, and then I realized what was going on and noticed that I had to be more careful with what I was doing. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to carry on. It's fine. I do not need to rip this back. Only me and the knitters will know. And I just want to carry on and get it done so that I can wear it, because it's cute, especially from this side. And I just want to get this sock done, right? It's late at night. I'm working on this heel flap, just watching my podcasts. I've been watching so many podcasts recently. Oh my goodness, love it. And by the time I was done with the heel flap, this is what I have left. This is what I have left for the toe. Friends, this is not enough for a toe. This is 0.6 grams. It is 2.5 yards. Not even 2.5. We're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. So when I was at my local yarn store, I went and had Elaine help me because she's the best with colors and I am color deficient. I'm not kidding, I am. And so I don't trust myself very much. Like, there's so little that it just keeps coming undone. So I got this, which is Harvest Fingering Naturally Hand Dyed Extra Fine Superwash Merino, made in Turkey. And it says Earth on there, like URTH, not like the planet. And this little picture of cinnamon on there is on there because it is the colorway cinnamon. So that's nice. And I'm going to stripe these. I'm going to stripe them together because this is pretty tonal and this is not. This is pretty straightforwardly one color. There are a little bit of shadows going on there, but just trust me, it's just cinnamon. And so I know I'll use this in another project. I like this color. I use it all the time. But I was a little bit miffed that this was a 20 gram thing and it didn't make it to the end of my toe. But I realized why. This one and this one both have a double thick cuff on them. I love the double thick cuff with the provisional cast on, specifically with the provisional cast on, because it is so darn stretchy, and it just snaps back like that. Look at that. That's amazing. So I have not done toes, heels, and double thick cuff before this sock. I've done the double thick cuff. I've done contrast heels and toes. I've done the cuff and the heel. I've done the double thick cuff in the main color and done heels and toes, and I've done so all the combinations except for all three with a double thick cuff. So apparently 20 grams is not enough for me to accomplish that, and that is good to know because I will probably make some choices based on that, whether that's that I get 2 minis, which is totally fine because minis are great, or that I just make the choice not to do all 3, even though this is super cute. So we are on our way with those gusset decreases. I think gusset decreases are so pretty. So pretty. I think they're just lovely. They're so great. And I love the difference between this, the way the yarn knits up in this fabric and the way it knits up in this fabric. I think it's really fabulous. Yeah. So there's that. And this is just so fun to stretch. It's so squishy. And so I think I'm about halfway through the decreases before I'm just knitting that foot until it's done. So that'll be great. Another probably couple days and that'll be done, because once I reach the toe, like, it really doesn't matter how late it is, I'm finishing that sock. Like, I've only left a toe once, I think. Yeah. And I don't know that it was self-control or exhaustion. I digress. Those were the winter goals. I have a few new cast-ons that I want to show you. I have 3 actually. 3, 4. They're not big though. It's okay. It's okay. I feel like I need to tell you that because I feel like some of you are like, what? I do this often where I cast off things and then I double the number that I cast off and cast them on. I do that often. So remember how I said the last Musselburgh? That's hilarious. The last Musselburgh would probably be my last one because I didn't feel like I needed to knit another one. That was funny because this is Musselburgh number 4. I gave my 3rd Musselburgh to my friend and her husband looked at it and was like, and I just looked at him and I said, do you want one? And he goes, well, yeah. So I'm knitting him one This is the baby start of it, and I haven't gotten very far. What I do is I'll take this end and like pull it around this and take it in to the inside and weave it in so that it's pulled tight so that it doesn't look like a nipple. And then I will continue these increases until I join it in the round, and or just join it in the round when it's big enough. So I'm doing this on 4mm needles, just like I did on the last one, because I'm doing a very similar gauge. I have this, don't mind my DPN sticking out there like a thorn. I just kind of shove it in the skein, the fifth one. I usually only use 3 DPNs when I'm working a circumference, but with this I find it easier for the stitch count and the increases to use 4 and keep that 5th one in my hand. So this is Patons Croix in Cascade colors. Patons Croix sock in Cascade colors, and I'm holding it together with the Cumulus alpaca. Whoa! Careful now. The Cumulus alpaca in the colorway Moonlight. This is left over from my first Musselburgh that I ended up giving to my sister because it was too big for me. And I will probably need to get more of it because I don't think this is going to last me through the whole half of the hat. But I am very curious as to how long that will last me. So I am just going to keep knitting with it until it kaputs. And I've been playing around with adding a different color of alpaca in stripes to see if it lasts longer. But I'm still playing around with that. I don't know if I could make that look cohesive without knowing how long it's going to last me. So still thinking through that. I haven't made it very far because I realized that I would be seeing them soon, and I thought, oh, I'll measure his head. Well, he's here the next time. That'll be great. I should have just done it when he said he wanted one and measure it and know that information right away. But instead, I had to, I was waiting, and then I thought, that's ridiculous. I don't need to wait. You know, I can just message them and ask, and then I can knit it no matter when I see them. So, silly delays. That is cast on number 1. Cast on number 2 is actually not on needles because there's an I-cord bind off on this, and I'm going to be doing another one. This is the section 1 and 2 of the shawlography of Clue 1. So everyone that I saw knit this, including myself, when we finished this part and previous parts, right, you would hold up your shawl, and several of us thought, wow, this would make a really cool yoke to a sweater. And I thought, why not do it? Why not do it then? So I'm thinking I will knit another side, and I'm not sure if I will just keep it like here placement wise, or if it would work to do like a boat neck thing and attach them from here to here and then just continue as if it's a circular yoke. Although for me, I did block this out, and I did that on purpose because I think joining them together blocked out is going to be a lot easier. And I know that because when you don't block it out, all of this background yarn, which is the darker yarn, you can't see it unless you stretch it apart. This is on a 3.25 millimeter needle, which is what's suggested for the shawl. For the shawl, I upped my needle size to 3.75 millimeters. And I'm glad I did that for the shawl, but I wanted it to be a little tighter for a sweater. I also, where the yarn overs are in the pattern for this, I did knit through the front and back of the loop so that there wouldn't be any holes there, even though there are kind of holes here, but that's okay. I think they're small enough that that's all right. So I'm thinking through that, like how I would even construct that, but I'm just taking it step by step. And obviously this is not something I would sell because this is Stephen West's pattern. But if I successfully make a sweater yoke with this pattern, I will make sure to put notes about it, how, you know, like to follow these instructions from Stephen West's pattern and then do these parts, so that those of you who also thought it would make a nice sweater yoke could do it too. And then, so the green here is from Moonstone Dye Works, and it's in the colorway Artemis. The goddess of the hunt is who Artemis is in Greek mythology. In those stories, she is super cool. And then this is, the background color is Hello Darkness by Stitch Together. I always want to say Stitch Two Together, but it's Stitch Together. Hand dyed somewhere in Iowa. It's rad yarn for rebels. Isn't that funny? So this is an 80/20, and it's sold in 115 gram hanks. But when I weighed it before I knit it, because I thought that was interesting that it's sold in that, it was actually 123. So significantly more than 100 and significantly more than 100. And then this was a 100 gram. I didn't actually think to weigh this before I knit this one up though. So I just thought that was interesting, the 115 gram deal. I know often that they're not exactly 100 grams or 50 grams or whatever, that they're often a little bit over, but that I thought was great. So that is cast on number 2. I think this is going to be really fun. It's probably going to take a long time for me to sort this out because this is fingering weight yarn, obviously, because it's sock yarn. And, oh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to see what the fiber content of the Artemis colorway was. So this is Moonstone Dye Works. She has a podcast also. Moonstone Dye Works in Artemis, and this is an 80/20. Yeah, 100 grams, 80/20. So when I saw her show this months ago on a podcast, I was like, oh, that's nice. I wish I could have purchased the whole collection. It was really great. Speaking of collections, for those of you who are into Encanto, there is a dyer. Oh shoot, I think her name is Annie, who is doing Encanto inspired colorways right now, and I am so excited about them. Heavens above. Yeah. So if you're into that, you should go check her out. I'll link that below. Okay, cast on number 3 here is the Basset Hat by Creadia Studio. This is a chunky knit. It's like chunky for me. It's great. I've been so excited about the release of this pattern. I saw her doing like anticipation posts for it, and I didn't realize that it wasn't out yet when I first saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, where is this thing? And I had to wait until it was released, of course, and it's just great. It's just great. It's also wait, let me get into let me do it in order or I'll forget to tell you. So I'm using the recommended needle size and I'm playing around. I'm doing the smallest size, I think. For my girls, they've made a request for me to knit them some hats, and so I am. This is Ella Rae Cozy Alpaca in Chunky in the colorway Marmalade. This is an acrylic alpaca blend. It is 70% acrylic, 30% alpaca. So I'm holding this with another Surrey Alpaca Cumulus. This is the colorway Natural. And I'm holding this double to make this super chunky knit. So in the pattern that she did, she also held a chunky yarn with 2 strands of kid silk, I believe. And so this is coming up lovely. I think with the next one I might size down a little. I don't know. For the needle. This also was my second tubular cast on. She uses a modified Italian tubular, which, you know, is her own modification. And so it was fun to do. Also, because this is so many less stitches than the collar of the sport weight sweater, I did it a couple of times because the first time I did it, I didn't realize my yarn had been cut. And so I had this coming off the cake of yarn. And so once I got through the second row or something, I thought, oh no, I started knitting with my tail, and then realized I had 2 tails. So I thought, like, okay, maybe I can weave these in or something. I'll just keep going. And then after I tried that for a minute, I thought, no, I'll just incorporate it somewhere later into the hat, because eventually you join this in the round, and that is the point of the tubular cast on, so that you can join it in the round and it all just has the same elasticity and movement and everything, and it's all one cohesive situation. I am holding these all together, obviously, but I'm only holding one floof of alpaca because I'm pulling from the center and from the outside. I do this often with socks because I knit mine 2 at a time, where I'll do one from the inside and one from the outside, and then I'll just recake it when I'm done. To me, it just makes sense. It's fine. I'll knit from the inside, right? And then when I'm ready to, because I'll do mine on 9-inch circulars, so I'll do cuff, cuff, leg, leg, heel, heel, and then usually foot, toe, because once I'm at the toe, it's really hard for me to stop. So I'll do one part from the center, and then I'll turn it onto here, so that the center pull is on the bottom, and then it'll come off the cake from the outside like that, so that my yarn isn't constantly turning around each other while I am knitting from both sides of the cake. Yeah, the inside and the outside, both sides of the cake. So that is cast on number 3. I realize that these are crazy in the whips department, but here's the thing. I've got a lot of stockinette to accomplish. I've got a lot of stockinette for these sweaters, and I really enjoy keeping my mind busy. So I think that's part of why I was so far on the colorwork sweater, because this keeps your interest pretty well. I would have kept going if I didn't have other knitting goals, because it has you do color work and then change your color and then change your color again and then more color work and then there are more color changes here. So I actually had trouble stopping the other night because I thought, well, I'll just finish the white. Well, I'll just incorporate the green. Okay, you really need to stop because in a minute you're going to be like, oh, I just finished the green. You know, I do that to myself so much. Anybody else with an obsessive brain problem? Last one. And it's not, I don't know if this counts as a cast on. You know what I mean? I guess it does. It does. But it feels like I'm just finishing stuff. This is a sock tube from the yarn farm. And that's going to take us seamlessly into acquisitions. Oh my goodness, my mini just rolled under the bed. Got it. Okay. This is a sock tube from the yarn farm on Etsy. I love their shop. I realized the last time I did a sock tube from them that I probably should have gone with the 64 stitch count for them because the second pair of socks that I got from them they were too wide. The circumference was too wide for my foot. So I gave them to my sister and she loved them. And the first pair of socks was for my mother, who has 1 to 1.5 size larger feet than me in her shoe size. So they worked out just fine. And if they didn't, she hasn't told me yet. I'm sure she will eventually. I tried out my afterthought heel idea for the tread heavy pattern on here and it did not work. The first try did not work. So I ripped it out and I'm just going to try it again because I think my son and I wear the same circumference sock for the yarn tubes also. And I'm going to be just doing the length differently than I would do for myself. He specifically asked for violet yarn with this bright green that I used previously on a pair of his socks. I previously knit him a pair of socks like this with the bright green, and I did an afterthought heel on that one as well. Even though it wasn't a cranked tube, it was just a tube I knit myself. So I have a couple stitches that I didn't pick up correctly after I frogged my heel. So that's what those are for. So I'm going to try it again tomorrow. He is getting a little bit done with me not having his socks done yet. Because he sees all of this and he's like, so you're saying they're not done? And I'm like, no, they're not done. And he also was very confused because he specifically has asked me for short socks. He makes sure that I know that he doesn't like long socks. And he saw all of this. And he was like, Mom, you know I don't like long socks, right? And I was like, yeah, buddy, it's okay. I'm not making you long socks. And he goes, okay. So I'm hoping to finish these tomorrow because he's been pretty patient about it. And at least have the numbers for this stitch count sock for the afterthought heel done. I obviously have the toe done here. I did not reinforce the toe because I'm not ripping this back to reinforce beyond the toe, but I am going to reinforce the heel on it for the afterthought heel there. And then I'm probably just going to count, you know, a few rows and then do that cuff for him. I love these. These are so great. I got 2 more seamlessly, like I said. Oh, this is this yarn. Hang on now before I forget details. And if I have forgotten anything, guys, it'll be in the description box most likely, because if I notice that I've forgotten something while I'm editing, I go ahead and put it down there. This is Cascade Heritage, which is a 75/25 in the color 5650 lilac. and he specifically asked for violet socks with this green, which is a knitted whip mini in the color Shamrock. And it always reminds me of Minecraft with how bright it is and everything. So that I pulled this off. I asked them to pull this off to give me 20 grams off the tube. I did that with this one and another one because I wasn't sure what I would want to do with the rest of it. So I'm still, you know, if I choose to make another pair of socks for myself with the other side, I'll see if that works. And, you know, if it doesn't, I'll give them to my sister again. I got 2 more. This one is Malabrigo sock in Piedras, I think is that. And look at that knit up. Isn't that great? I love that. Also asked for a 20 off of that one. And I believe I'm going to use this. This is a 72 stitch count. I believe I'm going to make socks for my brother-in-law out of those because he's got some bigger feet. And this is Variations in Rose Opal, and that is in a 54 stitch count. And I thought that would fit my daughters, but it turns out that their feet are still a little bit too small. This is the lowest stitch count that will that is offered for a sock crank. And here's one of the reasons I love using Sock Farm on Etsy, because she offers more stitch counts than most people do. Most people only offer 64 and 72, but she offers 54, 60, 64, and 72, I believe. So I really like that she has a wider range that she offers for that. So I might, if the purple socks, if the circumference for the violet socks, I keep saying purple and he's like violet. If the violet socks are too big of a circumference in the sock crank gauge as well for my foot, then I'll probably just go with this 54 stitch. Even though I'm not really a pink gal, I thought this would be good for my girls because they have been requesting a lot of pink things. They just really like it. So even though we operate by the value that all colors are for all people in our house, my girls just really do like pink. And that's okay. So my little son really likes pink too. Right. I'll probably use those for myself though, for at least a pair of socks, and then use the rest to just knit from if I am not able to use the violet ones for myself. All right, a couple more things. Obviously you saw the cinnamon colorway yarn as a acquisition. This is called Knitting for Radical Self-Care, a Modern Guide by Brandy Cheyenne Harper. It's really lovely. Look at her back there. Stunning. And I got it. Oh my goodness, there's already stuff on it. Did you see that? There's already like a little, gotta wipe that off. Bet you a little hand got on there. Not only is the photography like wonderful, just everything I would like in my house. Like, look at that. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So there are definitely patterns in here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 patterns in this book. And I honestly haven't even gotten to them yet. But like there's techniques in here. She goes through all these techniques. So if you are a more recent beginner, then this is totally for you. And I think even if you're not a beginner, like this is so helpful because I was able to, there was a photo progression of weaving in your ends, and a friend of mine had sent me a video message, and she showed me all these ends on her blanket, and she said, you know, what am I supposed to do with these? Like, do I just knot them, or do I do this? And I thought, I wouldn't just knot them. I would do it like this. And I kind of tried to explain it. I sent her a video tutorial from Norman of Nimble Needles. I love his video tutorials. Norman, you're the best. I don't know if you will ever watch this video, but you're the best. And he is just so clear, and he shows multiple ways of doing things, which is really nice. But in here, there are just some finishing. There are photo tutorials of it, and I really like having that, because after I've watched a video on something, I don't necessarily need to watch the whole video again. I just sometimes need to reference a piece of information. So I love this, that it has instructions on pretty much everything, and that's really, really helpful. Like even how to do a brioche stitch, how to do a bunch of stuff. Like it is teaching you knitting techniques. But then also there's all the patterns. And then what I really loved was the first part. I really loved the part that was so it's in 3 parts. The first part is about radical self-care. The part 2 is about like knitting techniques, and part 3 is the patterns. So I loved I loved part 1, where she talks about creativity and how it's affected her life. And like she and I come from very, very different worlds, but I totally, there's a place where she talks about where we can identify with each other as knitters, even if we come from very, very different backgrounds. And I really loved that. So it's really, really great. I've loved it. How she talks about mindfulness in your knitting. And I was reading a quote recently by, the very famous knitter, who I will remember her name later. And she was talking about like, oh, cool, you can knit without looking? Great. Like, lots of people can, lots of people can't. It doesn't really matter. Like, look at it, admire the stitch. What are you doing? Like, pay attention to what you're doing. And I think that's really great. Like, to be able to enjoy, mindless knitting, as a lot of people put it, because you can be productive and be watching a show or whatever, but also to enjoy the meditative side of it, where it's a purposeful, mindful practice. That repetitive practices where you're using your body to accomplish something can be really helpful for your brain and your spirit. So I have really enjoyed this, even though I am not very far into it at all. I'm almost done with part 1. And I think for part 2, I'll just skim it and kind of tab the things that I haven't done yet. And that'll be fun, I think, to be kind of a check mark of techniques that I will be doing this year. So, and part 3 is the patterns. And of course, if I end up knitting those at any point, I will make sure to pull it out and show you. Lastly, Knitting Niqabi did a shop update, and I got this one. Oh, I'm so glad the color is coming up so well. This is called Blush Copper, and it's in the DK weight. Like I said, she does 100% non-superwash wool merino, and she always puts on the back what it's dyed with. So these were dyed with madder root and black tea. Isn't that so pretty? So great. So I am going to be I think I'm debating on whether I want to use this for the DK version of the tread heavy socks or not, or if I want to put it in something else entirely. It's so pretty. And she made 2 of these for her update, and I got them both. And they were the new colorway that she was trying, and I loved it. And I did us all a favor and bought them both to make sure she knew that she should dye it again. I really like her yarn. I just really like her as a person too. She is doing, oh, another thing you need to know about is she's doing a pre-order, I believe monthly pre-order club. One is about mythical creatures, mythical creatures, and this month's so the first month she's doing it would be in February. You'll receive it in February. So I signed up for one, and the mythical creatures one, the mythical creature for February is gnomes, and she posts like a photo of what her color palette will be for that, and it looks so cute. The other pre-order that she's doing is called the Herbology Yarn pre-order, and that's the one I am into. And February's is elderberries. I think it's still open. But if not, make sure to subscribe to her on Instagram, because she will obviously be doing them for months later, and I will definitely show you the elderberry one. And it's not just that the yarn is going to be inspired by the color of the herb, or that it would be the color of what you would think of for the herb. She's dyeing it with the elderberries, so it's dyed with that. You also get more goodies in there. There's going to be 100 grams skein of the yarn, and you can choose between fingering and DK weight. I chose the DK weight one. And there are other things in it. Oh, she has a tea company, so there's going to be tea in it. And then she said there'll be like mystery goodies in it too. So I'm very excited about that. And since it's a pre-order monthly thing, I really love the pre-order monthly deals, because not only does it feel like, I feel like as a yarn dyer, it would be nice to know like, okay, this is how many I need to dye because they've already been paid for. But also as a buyer, I really like the pre-orders because I don't have to commit to every month. If something comes up, I don't feel bad canceling on someone. I just don't pre-order it that time. So that isn't that gorgeous? I'm just not sure what I need to make with it, but I know it's gonna get on my needles soon because it's so pretty, and it's a color that I haven't seen anywhere else. Like, she did such a good job. Isn't blush copper just like the perfect name for that? Perfect name. So there we go. That is the end of our scheduled programming today. Yeah, there we go. Everybody go download your tread heavy socks, and I will see you soon. Hopefully, maybe with some finished sweaters. Sweater. Maybe. We'll see. Happy knitting, friends.